I was a shadow in the government's game, born as a child with no face and no name. They stole my past to leave me cold and alone, always searching for a place I could call home. I was lost in the dark, just a tool in the hand, till she pulled me close and helped me understand. Now the fire inside is starting to rise. I can see the truth through a thousand lies. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every tone in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground, no longer a ghost that's never been found. In the dead of the night, I can hear the call, all the ghosts of my past scratching through the wall. My eyes change colors, the power has grown. With Crowley the Hound, I am never alone. I used to be hollow, a man made of glass, but now I am reclaiming every year that has passed. Every memory is falling right back into place. I know every name and I remember every face. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in my sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hell on beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I ain't running no more, yeah, I'm ready to fight. Gonna settle that debt in the depth of the night. They tried to break me, they tried to erase, but they can't hide the blood from the scars on my face. The veil is thin and the engine is hot. I'm taking back everything that they thought I forgot. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a tail beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I remember it all now. Every single face, I'm calling for you in the dead of the night.
Hello, everybody. This here, I decided to try something a little different tonight. This is going to be episode 17. And tonight, I'm going to be talking about witches. Even though I'm married to one, when I was a kid, still in about the second grade, there was an old woman lived across the road from my grandpa and my uncle. The only thing that separated my uncle's house from my grandma and grandpa's was just a driveway that they shared. It was a little tiny, we'll call it a village because there wasn't very many people that lived there. Kind of one of those places you go by it on the highway, you blink and you missed it. But for a little bitty village, I had the most excitement and most fun growing up as a kid. There was all kinds of stuff going on in that little village. There was always somebody talking about something, and everybody knew everybody's business, but when it come down to it and got real necessary, the little village clung together. They might talk a little shit behind each other's back, but when troubles come, they bonded together like glue. Well, it was in the early December, and I went with my dad up to see his mom and dad, my grandma and grandpa. Across the road from there on the street there, across the road from my grandpa, Big old huge house, looked like something off the Addams Family or the Munsters. Great big old thing. It was 2.5 story tall, the ugliest green you ever seen. Roof looked like it could use a lot of patchwork here and there, probably. My uncle mowed that yard, and my grandpa behind the old witch's house, he had donkeys over there that he used in the fairs and parades. Pulled a big covered wagon, and up at the state fair, he would haul people around in that covered wagon, kind of give them a tour of the state fair for a fee. You had to pay for the ride up there and the mules. And mainly, he kind of like me, or I kind of like him, I guess. He liked to talk. He could come up with some of the damnedest stories you ever heard. And sometimes he even got a little ornery. As I got older, he got ornery. He would tell me some things, and whatever you do, don't tell mom. She wouldn't understand. She ain't a guy. I just kind of laugh and keep it secret, knowing full well she knew what he was talking about. And she pretended sometimes to get mad, and it was just back and forth. But anyway, back to the story. I was scared to death of this little short woman. She was about as round as she was tall, had the long gray hair, white streaks in the gray, wore these glasses, looked like granny glasses. Her hair was all combed back, and it went down past her waist. Well, they had been teasing me, telling me that if I got near the road, that old witch come out there and cast a spell on me. Well, they must have told her because every time I'd be out there playing along the ditch and even look at that road, because I'd look over to see where she's at, I wouldn't get a hold of me. She'd look at me sometimes as she'd come out to get her mail off her box and her paper, and she'd look at me and she'd shake that old bony finger at me. Every so often, if she looked out the window and see me, she'd come out there with this. It looked like a wand, crooked old stick. She'd wish it in the air, and she'd point directly at me. And she'd take that old stick, and well, I'd take off running to the house. I was scared to death of her. I'd never heard her talk, but I knew enough that she had that look in her eye that if I got near that road, she was going to come over there and do something god awful to me. Maybe even turn me into a toad. Hell, I don't know. Maybe a lizard. In any case, I didn't want to find out. So, anyway, come that December, early December, and I was in the truck with my dad, and we pulled in the driveway. And when you pull in the driveway, there was a kind of a little bit of a slope that went down into the yard. Driveway set up a little bit higher than the yards. Well, I was so excited about getting in the house, make sure I didn't get caught by that witch. I didn't want her to put the comeuppance on me. Well, I started to jump out of that truck, and I hit that there little taper down there to the yard, slipped in the snow, darn near it fell. But as I come back up to get my balance, I run right straight into the telephone pole. Dude, I seen stars. I fell on my butt in the snow. Forehead had a great big giant goose egg on it, about the size of a golf ball. And I seen stars. It just knocked me silly as hell. My dad come running around the truck, helped me get up, and there was a small cut right in the center from that copper wire where I hit it and kind of slid down. It kind of like the cartoons, where you see old Roadrunner being chased by Wile E. Coyote, and Roadrunner makes a sachet, and Wile E. Coyote runs into that stone wall. That was me. I hit it, and it slid right down that pole, right into snow. So Dad picked me up, whisked me into Grandma and Grandpa's house, and they got a wet rag and put that on my head. They could look and see how bad the cut was. I need to go get stitches, and I still got a little scar there. Ain't much of one, but it's still a little tiny scar. Then they got the ice out, and my body does not do ice worth a damn. I know that, and these doctors, sometimes you get hurt. They want you to use ice and then switch to heat and ice and heat. Hell with the ice. Just give me the heat. So I'm laying there, and they're looking me over, and Grandpa's sitting there with me, and Dad and Grandma step out on the porch for a minute, talk. Me and Grandpa sitting there, and he goes, "Boy," he said, "you're lucky your dad picked you up, got you in the house." He said, "That old witch across the road, when he picked you up, she was coming out there with a knife and a steel, and she was sharpening that knife. She's going to cut your ears off. She's going to use them in a spell." Well, did that just scare the hell out of me? So all that time they'd been teasing me about this old witch. Well, every time I seen her, she never smiled, but she was keeping an eye to make sure I didn't get out in that road, what she was really doing. But I didn't know that at the time. I thought she was sizing me up to put me in that big giant pot. Maybe throw some carrots in there or something. Who knows? Now I'm telling you like the way I thought as a kid. I think a lot different now as I'm married to a witch. A dignified witch. Nice lady, but she'll meet any energy with the same type of energy. Basically, don't piss her off and you'll be okay. Well, I stayed up there with my dad, and that evening we left and went home, and Christmas rolled around, and I wanted a chainsaw like my dad. So by God, I got a toy chainsaw, but to me it was real. It had the motor, and you'd pull that string and it'd light up. You'd give it a little gas, and that little tiny chain go around. It would light up, and you could even remove the gas cap and the oil cap that was attached by a string. Check the oil and stuff in it. Well, I thought I was big stuff. I opened that up and I told Dad, I said, "This gonna come in real handy." I got the first thing on I'm gonna cut with that is that goddamn telephone pole up there at Grandma and Grandpa. That son of a bitch left a hell of a knot on my head, and I'm gonna get even. My dad just laughed, and Mom was, "What the hell are you talking about?" Dad explained to her, and the rest of the evening I spent checking the oil in it, imaginary. There wasn't no oil in it. Wiping her down real good 'cause I wanted to be good and shiny and ready to go that weekend. I was going to Grandma and Grandpa's. I'll cut that goddamn telephone pole down. Well, come the day, Saturday, we went back up there, and I had my little can of oil. Back then they was cans. They wasn't these here screw top jugs. They was a can, and you use a can opener and poke a hole at each end. Or in farm life, you just use a pocket knife most time. But who in the hell's going to carry around a can opener? Even though I do carry one nowadays, but it's a military style can opener. But anyway, we got up there and had a little gas can, and it didn't have nothing in it. But I pretended, and had we stopped and got gas in it, and put my 2 cycle oil in her, and then I put the chain and bar oil in her. All fake, all pretend. I got out of the truck, and here come my uncle was going to give me shit about that witch again. They do that shit all the time to me. All the time harassing me. So I sitting there, and my uncle said, "What you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to cut that goddamn telephone pole down. That son of a bitch left a hell of a knot on my head, and I come to get even. I got my chainsaw I got for Christmas. I got my gas and oil. Well, I even got a file. She's sharp, too. Cut your leg off, being careful." He just laughed, and he goes, "Well, I got to see this." I reached down there and turned her on and pulled the string a couple times, and give her gas, and why, she took right off. First pull. I'm sitting there cutting on that telephone pole, pretending to cut on it. It ain't doing nothing to it, really. But I thought it was. My uncle said, "Well, I better get the hell out of the way." I said, "Yeah, just a little bit more and she's going to fall." And I said, "She's going to fall right out there in Grandma and Grandpa's yard." So I'm running the other way. Because you don't want to run toward the tree it's falling. You want to run away from it. After you look and make sure which way that son of a bitch going to go. So I pretended to cut a little bit more. And I done just like Dad showed me. I cut the V on the other side, cut the notch out, and then I cut down toward that notch. All pretend. Well, I'm just a saw to who wouldn't have it. And my uncle said, "Hey, you better holler timber and get the hell away from that thing. It's going to fall." Well, I shut my chainsaw off and started backing away from it so I could watch it. And I hollered, "Timber!" Them guys was over there on the porch just laughing their ass off. And about time I said that, I looked over there and that old witch was coming across the road. Dude, I wouldn't waste no time. I grabbed my chainsaw and I run like hell across the driveway, over to my uncle's, through the mud porch door, up into the house door, and right up in the house and jumped right in my aunt's lap in there while she was watching TV. Of course, I didn't know she was asleep, but she woke up real quick. "What the hell are you doing?" I said, "My God," I said, "I cut that damn telephone pole down there, and about the time I hollered timber, that damned old witch crossed the road. She coming across the road to get me. You got to hide me." She said she ain't going to bother you. She said, "I put a talisman out there on the porch." Dude, I got up and took off running for the bedroom. When I heard her say a talisman, I thought that sounded like something a witch would say. Maybe that old witch turned her into a witch, and they's going to stick me in the oven. She come in there laughing her full head off. My uncle come in, and here come Grandpa and Dad and Grandma. "Where'd he go?" Man said, "Oh, hell, he's in there hiding in the bedroom under the bed. I go get him out from under there." "What the hell's he hiding for?" She said, "I don't know. I told him I had a talisman hanging out there for the old witch, and he took off running." My uncle started laughing. He goes, "Well, hell, he probably thought you was a witch. Thought maybe that old witch turned you into a witch, and you probably going to stick him in the oven, cook him after you cut his ears off." They tried and tried to get me to come out of that bed, and I said, my aunt's done been turned to a witch. Hell, I didn't know any different. I was a kid. Finally, my dad come in there, and he said, "Come on, she ain't even out there, and your uncle will keep an eye on your aunt." That was his sister, my dad's sister. So I come out of there, and I snuck through the dining room and sashayed around the table and climbed up there in my grandpa's lap. He goes, "What do you want on my lap for?" I said, "I need protection. If she comes around that table, you got to keep her from getting me. She probably just acting nice right now, but she got turned into a witch." I was scared shitless. Of course, my uncle was like, "I guess that means you won't be spending the night." I said, "Hell no, I ain't going to. You be stupid. You sleep in the house with her. You wake up in the morning, she turn you into a toad." He just laughed. Man, she was over there laughing. Everybody's laughing. I didn't know they were laughing at me. So we get ready to go home. We said our goodbyes and walked out to the truck. And I was looking both ways. I was looking, trying to see where that old witch, maybe she'd outside out there. I didn't know where in the hell she went. Well, I had no clue. Dad backed out of the driveway there, and we went up to the stop sign and turned to the right, went past the old fire station and past the church, turned left at that stop sign, and there was a house, a post office, and then the little general store there, a little mom and pop store, kind of like a red and white store, privately owned. That's well, I'm gonna stop in and get some bologna and cheese. I grab some beer. You want a soda? You got to come in. Like, okay. He goes, well, while I'm at, I'm just going to pour it at the gas pump. I'll just get gas, and then we'll just go in and pay for everything. That's fine. He pulls up there, and lo and behold, he gets out, and he putting gas in the truck. And I'm looking to see who the store clerk is working at the cash register there in front of that big window. And I'll be goddamn, there was that old witch standing there talking. And she always wore these like ankle dresses, went all the way down to the ankle, sometimes just below the knee. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh shit. She knew we was coming up here. Them witches, they know everything. She's gonna appear to wait. She's gonna get me away from grandma and grandpa, and she's gonna take me back to her old house, take me in there, get the old kettle ready, put water in it, put some carrots, potatoes, and onions, cut my ears off, and then throw me in there and cook me for them damn crows. Yeah, she had crows. Dad gets done pumping the gas, and he opens the door, and he said, "You ready?" I was like, just grab me a soda. I'll be all right. He said, "No, come on." Uh-uh. You see who's in there? That old witch. Ain't no way I'm going in there. No, thank you. You sure? Yeah, I'm sure. I'm going to roll the windows up and lock the door in case she comes out here and try to cut my ears off. So he goes in and he's talking to this old woman. Of course, then I didn't know her name. They hadn't told me her name. I found that out later. He's talking and pointing at me out there in the truck. And I know as well as I'm sitting here, he told her to go out to the truck. She walked toward the door and never take her eyes off me. She pushed that door open real easy and stepped out there with her little bag, little paper sack of groceries, and it wasn't much. I don't know what was in there, but it was just a small little sack, a little bit bigger than a sandwich sack. She walked straight to the truck. She's looking at me through those granny glasses, and she looks at me and she goes, well, I thought she was going to catch a spell, so I jumped down the floorboard hiding. What she was really trying to tell me was, roll the window down. Ain't no way I'm going to roll that window down. That, nope. There ain't a fat chance in hell. She pecks on the window and she goes, I'm looking up out of the floorboard on the passenger side, peeking out with one eye. Back in those days, hell, as a kid, I thought I couldn't see her very good. She couldn't see me. We had a cat like that. That big old fat cat would hide underneath the blanket and his ass be sticking out, and he thought he was hid. It was my wife's cat. He was one of them yellow and white cats. They kind of squirrely. Well, she started talking, and I could hear her. But I wasn't budging. I'm not going to hurt you, Henry. That's it. I know she's a witch now because she knows my name. I just wanted to say hi. I was like, hi. But I wasn't coming out of that floorboard. So she says, well, maybe I'll see you next time. I was like, I hope not. uh So she leaves and heads down toward the post office, and I'm peeking up, watching over the side of the door, just get my eyes up there just above, look over. She headed down toward the post office, got out of sight, and was like, phew. I climbed back up in the passenger side seat. Dad come out with the stuff and got me a canned soda. Back in those days, they didn't have bottles; they was cans, which was okay with me because it made me feel like I was one of the grown-up guys because it had a tab like a beer tab you pull. You save them tabs for a long time and you put them in a jug and you could go sell them. And I did. I kept every tab I get hold of. Every time one of them people drinking beer or soda throw a tab, I grab it. That's a prize there, man. Dad gets in the truck and he said, whatever, which one? I said, you send her out here. No, I wouldn't do that to you. Bullshit. You just done that on purpose. Nah, I wouldn't do that. Now, you full of shit too. So he just starts laughing and we head back home. Well, February, gonna go back up to my grandma and grandpa, and I was gonna stay up there for a few days. And I was sitting there in the house that morning, and grandma and grandpa they sold produce. Well, I'm not sure what she wanted out of the truck, but she said grandpa was too slow, but he was gonna go out there and unlock the camper. She was gonna swipe some stuff out of the back of their truck. Probably some tomatoes, onions, who knows what she was getting out of there. She was always grabbing something out of there. She goes, now whatever you do, boy, stay away from the stove. Well, you know how kids are. When she said stay away from the stove, it went in this ear and right on out that ear and didn't stop in between it, just straight through like an arrow. She's cooking eggs, bacon. That shit, oh, that smelled good. I like me some bacon and eggs. She turned that skillet down on low, big old cast iron skillet, great big. You probably get about 8 eggs in that thing, plus about 5 or 6 strips of bacon. Yeah, big old skillet. While she hit somebody with that, she'd knock them silly. So I'm sitting there, smells real good. My mouth's watering. I'm starting to foam at the mouth like a rabid dog. Well, the smell got too great. So I grabbed one of them chairs that was on our, they had rollers under them. I rolled it over there and I seen Grandma laid the fork down and the spatula on a paper towel. So I grabbed a little glove and put it on, grabbed that skillet, flipped the eggs, flipped a couple pieces of bacon. But what I didn't realize was the skillet had turned and the handle was aimed back at me. And I was like, oh, Grandma never does that. So I went to grab the handle on that damn chair underneath me on wheels. It started to move. Well, as the chair moved away, I started to fall and I hit that skillet. And that old hot grease off that bacon, because my arm went up, this right arm, and all down my side, all that grease, the bacon, and the eggs went right down my side. Oh my God, I screamed like a scalded dog. And it was cold as hell outside. Snow on the ground. Oh my God, I screamed. My shirt actually stuck to me, started having a hole in it. Started from the hot grease. The winter didn't catch fire. And in my state of panic and pain, I run to that door and I opened that door, no coat on, just my little tennis shoes. I run down straight toward the road, down the ditch, up the ditch, across the road. Didn't even look to see if there was cars. Wasn't a lot of cars in town anyway. And I run straight toward that old witch's little plank she had across her ditch because she didn't like to walk down the ditch. She had two big old planks there, like a bridge. And I run right up her sidewalk. I mean, I was in so much pain, I had no clue where I was running. I was just running. I was trying to outrun the pain. I run straight to her house, run up them 5 steps, past the two lions that she had on the steps, at them concrete lions. And about time I hit that door, she opened it, and then I realized where I was at, and I turned around and started running back, and I was running down toward around the house, down toward the mules, because I knew there was a big water tank. I was going to jump in that son of a bitch and cool myself off. My skin was kind of melty looking. I knew that was going to blister and hurt like hell. About time I got almost to the fence, that witch grabbed me. Straight to the house she took me, right to her back door. She opened up that door, had me in her arm like a football, opened up the little door inside the porch, led right into the kitchen. I was like, oh hell. It's over with now, boy. She's gonna cook your ass. And I kept thinking, my God, what can I do to get out of this? But I was hurting too bad. She goes, you like birds? Yeah. Why? She goes, then you won't be afraid. I said, afraid of what? She said, hold on for a minute, lay there. She had me laid on this table. This big, looked like a butcher block table. She opens up the door that led into the hallway, and all these crows that was in her house, they flew into the kitchen. This one crow landed on the table beside me, and she goes, looked at him, and she points her finger, and she goes, you be good or I'll tend to you. She said, I'll pluck a damn feather out your ass. That old crow just kind of squawked a little bit, and then, I was son of a bitch. He actually talked. He was talking shit to the witch. Like, oh, dude, I'm in so much pain, I don't care. But you keep talking shit to her, and she'll pull all your feathers out and cook you with me. But he was just talking up a storm. She pointed her finger back at him, and she said, and you better not start cussing either. We got company. He's hurt. I'm, I mean, just retching and praying. She goes over there and plucks a little bit of this out of a jar and a little bit of this, puts it on the stove. And she gets this jar down. It has this green looking, nasty, it looked like slime. She put it in a pan and she was over there just mumbling. Then she grabbed this other jar and she tossed some stuff onto the fire on the stove around this pan. Freaking sparks went all over the place. Big puff of smoke. Like, what the heck? She's gonna set her own goddamn house on fire. Shit. It ain't bad enough my side burned. She's gonna try to burn me up the rest of the way. She's gonna cook all of us, including the birds. I didn't care. I was in too much pain. Maybe she'd kill me fast. She whips that up, takes it off the stove, and sets it over there in that big old sink. Goes to the refrigerator and gets some ice out. Throws in that pan. That makes a hell of a sizzling noise. And she's sitting there, and she goes, "Do you trust me?" Now, deep down, I was saying, "Hell no, I don't trust you. You're gonna cook my ass. Me and the bird. Me and that big fucking crow. She's gonna cook both of us." But what was I gonna do? I'm laying there on this big butcher block table. I figured I had no choice. I better agree and shut up. I was like, You promise not to hurt me? And she goes, I promise not to hurt you. Do you believe that I can stop your pain? I sure as hell hope so, because it hurts bad. She goes, well, let me go check it. She stuck her finger in there, and yep, it's good and cold. I was like, oh, hell. Cool this pain off. It's burning. My skin had started to slide a little bit, melted kind of like plastic. So she goes over there and pours this into this little, like a kind of like a kettle looking thing. It had 4 feet on it. She brought it over there, and it was kind of looked like it was steaming. She was talking to it and putting the steam to her nose. She's just a talking away to this thing. I thought, oh my God, she lost her flipping mind. She gets done. She says a few words and puts her hand on my forehead. I was here, and she's saying a few more words, and then she told me to repeat something after her, and for the life of me, I can't remember what the hell it was. But I'm repeating, and every word she says, I'm repeating, kind of like an echo. When she gets done, she goes, now, I'm going to put this on there, and it's going to be cold. It'll kill the pain, and then all of a sudden, there'll be a real quick, fast cool down. That'll be, it'll hurt just a little bit, and then, just like that, it's gone. And she goes, now you listen to me. I'm going to put this on there, and I'm going to count to 20. And she said, then I'm going to carry you over to the sink. And I was like, oh, hell, here it comes. And she goes, I'm going to lay you in the sink. Just put your feet on the other side of the sink there, and I'll turn the water on and wash it off. I said, then I'll put this other medicine on you. Now, she made all this stuff. This wasn't stuff she bought at the store. Oh, I didn't give a shit. I was like, just kill me now. I'm tired of suffering. She mumbled some more words, and she's rubbing this green looking slimy shit on there. Oh my God, it stunk like ass. I mean, skunks would even run from it. I don't know if there'd be anything that would even try to eat that. I mean, the smell permeated the room. Even the crows there on the chairs, they was squawking from the stink. I didn't think birds could smell anything, but I guess they did. 'Cause it sure pissed them off. That one crow's over there hollering, Jesus, a stink, a stink, a stink. I'm like, shut up. And then all of a sudden, she said a few more words and she started counting. Before she got to 4, it was a quick, sharp pain, kind of like somebody ripping a band aid off or a piece of tape off a cut. Real sharp pain, just real fast. When she got to said number, I felt another sharp pain, and that's because she was setting me up to go set me in the sink, and I got scared, and I thought, well, now's my chance to run. I jumped into the floor, run out the back door onto the porch, off of the porch, onto the ground, and I headed straight for that water tank out there where the mules were. I didn't care if old Jack was in there. Jack was the mean mule. Grandpa always called him an asshole. I jumped over that fence into that tank, and I sat there, and I mean, I could almost hear the of it cooling off. She was up there at the house, coming out the back door, just laugh. She goes, I got a bunch of that left. Now you got to use that for 2 weeks. Put it on in the morning. Then after you have your bath at night, you put it back on and sleep with it all night on there until the next morning. I'll explain it to your grandma and grandpa. Like, well, it don't hurt. So after I laid in there for a little bit, make sure all that stinky shit was off of me, She come out there and helped me out of the tank, helped me across the fence, and threatened old Jack a few times if he come over there, 'cause he liked to nip. Sometimes he might try to bite you if he didn't think you were watching. She goes, me and Jack there got an understanding. Sometimes I come out here and throw him potato peelings and carrot shavings, and he better be good, 'cause otherwise I'll cut them long jackass ears off of him, and I'll cook 'em up and feed 'em to him. Oh, hell. No wonder he's being trying to be nice. That's why he moved to the back of the pen. She had kind of laughed. As she laughed, her belly shook, 'cause she had a big belly. I was hoping she wasn't pregnant, 'cause Jesus Christ, I don't know what kind of baby. Back in those days, I didn't know what kind of baby a witch would have, but if it was going to be as bad as her, we don't need another one. Well, how wrong I really was. She walked me around her yard and to the little plank bridge, and now, hold on a minute. She looked both ways, and nobody's coming. She said, okay. So we walked over in Grandpa's yard and up on the porch and in the trailer. She goes, Mister, I brought your grandson back. He got burnt pretty good, and I'm healing him, and I give him this medicine. My grandpa, he called her by Jen. What the hell is a Jen? He goes, well, I thank you very much there, Miss Jen. She goes, don't think nothing about it. She goes, I got a container here. For the next 2 weeks, he's got to use that in the morning. And after he has his bath or shower, whatever one he takes, you put this back on there, and then you wrap it with gauze and leave it on all night long. Next day, you get up, put some more on, so on and so forth. She goes, you got any tobacco? My grandpa kind of laughed, and he goes, well, I always got tobacco. She goes, the smoking type? I ain't putting none of that chaw in my mouth. She called it chaw, and it was a chew. Grandpa said, yeah, how much we owe you? She goes, well, if you got one of them pouches of tobacco, I'll run over and get my pipe. 'Cause I don't think your missus is going to allow me to smoke my tobacco in here. She grew wacko tobacco, marijuana, on the back of her house. I didn't know what the hell it was. She goes over there and comes back. And Grandpa gets this great big almost 3 foot long peace pipe out. He loads that thing with tobacco. She has a little pipe, but when she seen Grandpa bring out that big old peace pipe, she put her small little pipe back in her satchel. They sit there smoking that peace pipe. Grandpa said, yeah, Mom get a little mad. You bring that wacko tobacco over here. She said, I know, and I ain't got none over here. I'll smoke it in my house. She used it for medicinal purpose. She didn't smoke it to get crazy. So I stayed in the other room. Well, as time went by and I started healing, I come to realize that those guys were pulling my leg. Yeah, she was a witch, all right. She was a good one. Kind of like my wife, unless you piss her off. Well, that did finally heal. And right now, that skin looks just like my regular skin. It's got kind of a pinkish color to it, but it ain't that plastic, shiny looking skin like you see these people get burnt. It healed real good, but god damn, that stuff stunk. I mean, it smelled bad, but it worked. From then on, if I needed something, I was at Grandma and Grandpa's. something for a cold or something, I'd go over there. Well, after that, I got to where I'd go over there and visit with her. Or she'd come over with Grandma and Grandpa, or she'd come over with my aunt and uncles, and I'd always sit right there beside her, listen to her talk. Sometimes I'd go over to her house and I'd sit there and talk to them crows. But you had to watch out though, 'cause that one, sometimes he'd get a little frisky and he'd start talking smack with a few cuss words in it. So I thought it was funny as hell. Me and him both sitting there cussing each other. That crow could even laugh. Every room she went to, those crows would go there too. I said, how in the hell did you get crows? She said, I summoned them. Hell, what do you mean you summoned them? She goes, I asked for them to come here, and here they are. I said, well, how'd they get in the house? Oh, come here, I'll show you something. So she walked me over by the staircase. We went up those stairs up to the second floor. She goes, look up above your head. This was the center of the house. And I look up, and I kid you not, there was a hole in the roof. Well, it's big enough you probably could throw a basketball through it. She goes, them crows don't have to stay. She said, sometimes they even go out in the yard when I'm out there tending to the flowers and my plants. And I said, they follow you back in? She goes, yeah. But she said, if I come in a little bit early, they can go up on top of the house and come in through this hole right there. I said, well, let me ask you a question. How do you keep the rain and snow out of there? She goes, magic, baby, magic. I thought she was full of shit. Well, one day I was over there. It was raining cats and dogs. And I said, let's go look at that hole. I want to see if the rain's coming there. Because you said that you put a juju spell on that thing and the rain won't come through there, but your crows can go in and out of there. She goes, I did. So she takes me upstairs, and here, the crows are going up there too. They're flying. We stood up there on that second landing, looking out the widow's peak up in the top. There wasn't a damn bit of rain coming in there. Like, how in the hell is that possible? I was amazed. It just fascinated shit out of me. She really was a witch. That's the one thing they wasn't lying about. She really was. So I sitting there laughing, and crows, they would start laughing because I was laughing. So we went down, started to go downstairs, and come past this doorway. I say, where's this go? She goes, that room's off limits. You just stay out of there. She goes, I keep it locked, and I keep the key in my pocket. Ain't nobody allowed in there. How come I can't go in there? Because I said, I go in there when I work some really bad spells. People come over here taunting me. I thought another tall tale, so okay. So went back downstairs, and every day I go over there, or she come over, and hell, sometimes she come over there in the evenings, and when it's summertime, and help us pop beans. That means you pop each end off and the stem, then you break them 3 or 4 pieces and toss them in a pot. Be cooked down for canning. Well, hell, when she come over there, I'd pull my chair beside her. We'd sit there and pop beans together, and I'd listen to her talk. It was funny. I really grew to love that old woman. Hell, she's like family. Well, few years passed, and I grew up a little bit and started playing basketball with the neighbor kids down to the local park, which is just half a block down and over to the left down the street there. Grandma and Grandpa could look right out the window and see me down there with some of the neighborhood kids. Well, two of these guys, I really got to know them real well, and they was funny as hell. Well, then this third kid joined in and got to know him pretty good, and that was like the Four Musketeers. Well, one day we was playing basketball. I said, "Yeah, Jen's supposed to come over tonight for supper," and he's like, "Jen, who's that?" Well, this one they called back then they called him Mad Dog. He was like, "Are you talking about the old witch?" "Yeah, she's a nice old woman. She got some crows too, and that one crow cussed like a sailor. We get along just fine." "Oh, you just stay away from her, man. She's evil." Now you guys just don't know her. I just felt the same way because I didn't know her. Now I got to know her. See, I go there all the time. She comes over to my grandma and grandpa's or my aunt and uncle. Dude, she's evil. No, she's a good old woman. I misunderstood too. The people were telling me that she was a mean old witch. She's a good old witch. I was raising my shirt up. I said, "See that? That right there would have looked like burnt plastic if it hadn't been for her. She saved my skinny little ass that day. That's ever since then, we're like this." But they got the bright idea that they was going to go one evening and heckle the witch. I didn't know it. If I'd known it, I would have let her know. But I didn't know. Yeah, they went over there that night, went to the back door and was going to nigger knock, which is where you beat on the door and you go hide around the corner. Well, they got the courage up to get in their yard and go to the back door. But when they went to knock, the door come open and there she was. Them boys ran. I could hear her laughing over there. Well, she come over to the house laughing about it. Me and Grandpa and my uncle was sitting on the porch smoking. I was like, "Oh shit." She told who the boys were, and Grandpa goes, "Ain't them the boys you hang around with?" He said, "Did you know anything about it?" I was like, "No." He goes, "You better tell them boys they better knock that shit off." While she's over there talking, them boys get the bright idea to go to the back door because they seen her over at the house. I didn't see them. They run up, hit the door, went inside. All of a sudden, Jen was sitting there and she goes, "There's a disturbance. I'll be back." I'm like, what the hell is she talking about? She goes across the road, walking kind of fast, across the little bridge, up into the front door, and I ain't shitting you. It sounded like them three boys was being tortured. They let out the damnedest scream you ever heard. Don't know exactly what happened. They run out that front door, right out into the road, and right through at my grandpa's yard. And my uncle and grandpa caught them. They was yelling and screaming. Jen come out of the front door of her house laughing. There was one crow on her shoulder, and the others you could see standing on the bookshelves just in past the door. She was just laughing, and that crow that talked all the time, he was just a cackling. And she backed up, shut the door. Grandpa and my uncle started talking to them boys like, "Boys, she's a good old woman. Y'all are going to go right back over there and apologize to that woman. If you do it again, you're going to answer to us." But there wasn't nothing doing. Them boys wasn't going back that door. Whatever they'd seen scared the shit out of them. And my uncle and them told them, said, you are going back over there, or we're going to stomp mud hole in your ass and take you home to your parents and let them stomp mud hole in your ass and stomp it dry. But they decided they didn't want the ass whooping, so they was going to go with Grandpa and my uncle over there and knock on the door and apologize to the Miss Jen. Before they even get up on the steps, Jen opens the door and now she's got three crows on her shoulder. And these crows are huge. They ain't making a move, they ain't saying nothing, they're just staring at them boys like they're going to eat them. One by one, the boy walks up there and apologized to Miss Jen, said he ain't never going to do that again. He's sorry about being so damn stupid. Well, then the other two went up and apologized, and my grandpa and uncle said, Miss Jen, is that okay? She goes, boys, I'm going to say this one time. I have put a curse on this place, but I'm going to remove that curse because it starts when you go home. But I'm going to remove the curse, put a hold on it. As long as you don't do this again, that curse won't be enforced. But if you get the bright idea to do this again, I feel sorry for you. Them boys took off running home. My grandpa and uncle started laughing, like, well, they won't be back. So she asked me if I wanted to come in for a little bit, and she told my grandpa, she said, I'll walk with him back over to the house. I want to see him for a minute. So I go in there, and she goes, how's your side healing? I said, real good. It's just kind of a light pink looking. She goes, can I have a look? Sure. I pulled my shirt up. She was looking at it, and she goes, yep, it works. I said, well, what was that shit in that jar? It looked like spinach or something. Should I? A little this, a little that. I ain't nothing for you to worry about. It healed you. Yeah, it didn't blister up or nothing. I was shocked. That's when I started believing that these old witches, mountain witches, garden witches, table witches, kitchen witches, even the one I'm married to, they do have powers of nature. They call on different aids to help them and different serums and different things, candle magic. Well, one day I was over there and I tell you want to see something funny? She goes, what are you going to show me? I said, watch this. I reached up here by my eye and took contact out and I said, you ready? And I had my eye closed. And when I opened my eyes were changing colors. She thought that was funny as hell. So I put the contact back in there and she looked. She goes, don't you always have brown eyes? I said, yeah, with the contacts in. I said, I have to wear these. I said, because it's a project. She goes, what else do you do? I said, come on, I'll show you. I see that big mirror down there at the end of the hallway. Watch this. Walked up there and I raised one leg, stuck my leg into the mirror, pulled my arm up, stuck it to the mirror, and I said, I'll be right back. I went into the mirror. But what I didn't know was when I stepped in the mirror, she stuck her head through the mirror. Scared the shit out of me. I about shit down both legs. I come back out of that mirror and she pulled her head back out. She goes, see, you was worried about me being a witch. Look at what you doing. She goes, that's called mirror magic. That's what in my case is changing the frequencies and using it for a portal. She goes, yeah, it's kind of the same difference, but it's called mirror magic. We kind of laughed about it, and she walked me back across the road, and she goes, "You better not tell nobody you can do that. Don't show nobody." I said, "It's because of the project." So I told her about a little bit about the project. I said, "Hope I don't get in trouble. Don't tell nobody." She said, "I ain't telling nobody." Well, later on, she started working with me as I got older, teach me a few things. Well, come today, she got sick. I was older, and I was for grandma and grandpa's, and grandpa and uncle went over there, and they called the paramedics to come. And she'd had a massive heart attack. And ambulance was taking her to the hospital. So, I mean, the ambulance wasn't even gone maybe 20 minutes. And this storm rolled in, lightning and carrying on, heavy winds, rain. They even having tornado forecast. Just happened to look over because I seen this flare and what the hell's that? Opened the window and looked out there. Jen's house was on fire. All of a sudden, my uncle called because he went with Jen in the ambulance, and he said, "We got to the hospital. She passed away." That was right about the time that damn house started blazing. I guess she was right. She put a curse on that house that anything happened to her, that she didn't want nobody else living there. That's all we can suspect because that house had never got hit by lightning. Never. Trees outside had got hit. That house never one time got hit. And you know to this day where that house was, not a damn thing grows there. I didn't even know she had kids. Several years ago, I was up there and I seen where she had a daughter that put a big old house trailer in, but she put it over there on the corner. She didn't dare put it over there on top of that house, so I went and asked her about it. Introduced myself to her, and she told me her name and introduced me to her kid and her husband. She goes, "You like my mom?" I said, "Yeah, she would treat me good." I said, "Here, look what she did for me." So I raised my shirt up. I said, that was right there where I got burnt with some hot grease and eggs and bacon. She healed me. Ever since then, me and her were friends. I said, I kind of miss her. Still this day, I think of her often. And so when you people hear about witches, they ain't all bad. But let me tell you something. There is a big misconception out there. You have these ones that call themselves white witches. They have another name for it too, and I can't remember it exactly. But just because they call themselves white witches, in order, this is just a little clue. In order for you to know the light, you have to know the darkness too. There's a famous witch that my wife likes to listen to. She's dead now. She used to be on Art Bell. Her name was Evelyn Panguini. You get a chance, go on to some of Art Bell's shows. You can still get them and listen to them. And you look her up when she was on the show, and she was funny. But anyway, not all these witches are really bad. So I know I've heard tales of some people trying to run witches out of town, even today. They ain't all bad. You got to, it's like white people, black people. You got a few bad and you got a lot of good. So don't judge a book by what you think the cover looks like, because hell, look at me. I'm different than most of you, but don't mean I'm really bad, because I'm not. So just keep that in mind in case you have a wit for a neighbor. I got a wife that's a witch. Seen her do some pretty amazing things. I feel sorry for the soul that decides to pick a fight with her. It will not be pretty. Well, you all have a good night, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Henry saying good night. No, no. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry, I didn't get notified. Okay, so read me the. What did they say? I can't see it. I got glasses on, but they're different. Oh, yeah, I can see it, but I mean, I can't see it. I can see it here on the screen, but because of my eyes, I can't read it. So was it a question or? If you didn't get a notification, check your settings. Like where if you're subscribed, check and make sure you get the notification from the bell. That could be what the problem is. So if there's anybody out there that's got any questions, feel free to ask away and I'll try to answer the question as best as possible. If not, well, since there's no question, I'm going to go ahead and sign off of here and I'll catch you guys later. Thank you. And this is Henry.